And then let's create our motivation. So, to have an awareness of what's going on in our own mind, what's going on in the world. And instead of getting depressed about it, to realize that this is typical of samsara. This is typical of being under the influence of afflictions and karma. And also knowing that there is a way to be free. There is a path to practice to be free. So that path is really our salvation. That path is the Dharma refuge, together with the resultant liberation we attain. The one who teaches that is the Buddha. And those who have realized the ultimate nature, one of the key realizations, or the key realization to being free of samsara, that's the Sangha. So with awareness of those three and an awareness of our fortune at having been able to encounter them in this life and have the time and the interest and the inclination to delve deeper and to learn the teachings, to apply them to our mind, to liberate ourselves. Then we again turn to refuge in the three jewels and really do it for the benefit of all beings with a mind of compassion, so that by practicing the path we can have the ability to similarly guide others on it. And that's the best way of repaying kindness. It's the best way to show friendship and devotion, loyalty, respect. So let's listen to the teachings so we can then express them with compassion and integrate them into our own minds with compassion. So I thought today, and I think I promised at the end of the last talk, to talk about the 18 unique qualities of the Buddha. So if you have the book and want to follow along, it's on page 47, Following in the Footsteps of the Buddha. And these 18 unique qualities of the Buddha, they're unique because they are not shared by the Shravakas, the hearer arhats, or by the solitary realizer arhats. So they're unique to those following the Bodhisattva path, following the Mahayana, and attaining full awakening. And these 18 are listed in both the Sanskrit and the Pali texts. Yeah. So it's interesting, and I like to very much emphasize when I'm teaching the similarities in the Pali and Sanskrit texts, because it really shows how the different Buddhist traditions are not unique religions yeah, as some people say, but they are branches of the same religion, and they have a lot in common. Okay, so so just to show you, to read you some of the passages, that show this. So the first one is from the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Yeah, and here, the Buddha is talking to Subhuti, one of his direct, prominent followers, talking about the 18. Yeah, so it goes through them very quickly, but afterwards I'll go back and explain each one. So Subhuti, the Buddha speaking here, between the time when the Tathagata manifestly and completely awakens to the highest perfect and complete awakening, and the time when he will pass beyond sorrow. Not having, so from the time of his enlightenment until he passes away from this life. Okay. Not having appropriation. Okay, so here appropriation, I might have mentioned this before. It's how the Tibetans in particular translate one particular word, and the Pali translators translate it as clung to or clinging. Okay, so what it means is, in terms of appropriation, a sentient being taking up the five aggregates. That's called the appropriation. Yeah. But I think I don't like that expression, the way it's said, because it sounds like there's a person who's separate from the aggregates who takes up the aggregates. And that's not the case at all. The person is designated in dependence on the aggregates. I like the Pali translation of the clung to aggregates, our body and mind that we cling to, okay? And we cling to them so ferociously that at the time of death of one life, we want another one with another set of five aggregates. So here it's saying the Buddha not having appropriation, so he's not taking up the five polluted aggregates. The Buddha has five aggregates. Okay, he has form, feeling, discrimination, miscellaneous factors, and primary consciousnesses, but he doesn't cling to them. Okay, so not having appropriated these five polluted aggregates, the Tathagata has no, and here it's listing the 18, mistakes, chatter, forgetfulness or lack of mindfulness, or unequiposed mind. Okay. Likewise, he has no recognition of difference or discordance. Okay. Then 6, indifference of not investigating individually, not knowing the individual characteristics of something. He has no loss of aspiration, no loss of joyous effort, no loss of mindfulness, no loss of concentration, no loss of wisdom, and no loss of complete liberation. So there we're coming to 12. Then his pristine wisdom proceeds and follows through all actions of the body. His pristine wisdom precedes and follows through all actions of speech. His pristine wisdom precedes and follows through all actions of the mind. That brings us to 15. And his unimpeded, unobstructed, pristine wisdom vision penetrates the past, the future, and the present. So that's the 18. Okay, so these 18 are all consciousnesses. Yeah, they're all consciousnesses in the Buddha's continuum. So the questions of the King Dharani Svara Sutra explains each quality, and then, the ornament of clear realizations divides these 18 into 4 groups. So 6 unshared behaviors, 6 unshared realizations, 3 unshared awakening activities, and 3 unshared pristine wisdoms. Okay, so these 18 features are also described in Dhammapala's treatise on the paramis. So Dhammapala was, I think it was Indian, maybe Sri Lankan, or from just South India. And he was, one of the great Pali commentators. And his text, the treatise on the paramis, describes the bodhisattva path and practices according to the Pali tradition. So it's very, very interesting. So it's not a canonical text, but it incorporates, all this material. Okay, so now we're going to start going through the 18. Now, before we start, why are we doing this? It sounds like, here's another list. Buddhists are really good at lists, and then there's just different details to remember and so on. But it's because when we understand, the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then when we take refuge, we know what we're taking refuge in. We're not just sitting there mumbling something and pretending to be very devout followers, even though we don't have any idea what we're taking refuge in. Okay, because like His Holiness says, we have to investigate and learn and examine. So, here we're learning about the qualities of the 3 jewels and why, they're worthy objects of refuge. Okay, so this explanation, helps us to determine that. It also, and it does that by showing us the qualities of, in this case, the Buddha. Then it also is showing us the qualities that we will have when we become a Buddha. And so in that way, it's also showing us or pointing out to us the kinds of qualities and traits that we need to develop in our practice. Okay, because if the Buddha has these qualities, they don't come about by a snap of the fingers or, kind of you have one realization and wham bang, you have all these qualities. You have to practice them and create the causes for each one. So many of these qualities, of these many qualities, I should say, some are ones only the Buddha possesses, so we have to kind of guess at how you create the causes for them. But, if we know something about the Dharma in general, it's not too hard to guess that. And then some of the qualities, it's quite obvious to us the kind of traits we need to develop. So when I explain these 18, I'll do it in terms of that, because I find it very helpful, because if there's certain qualities that a Buddha has, and I want to become a Buddha, then, trying to develop those qualities while I'm a confused sentient being is the beginning of the path to developing qualities. While just sitting back and saying, I have faith in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and we'll just see what happens, and I'll get the qualities by magic, that's not going to work. Okay. So let's start. Let's look first at the 16 unshared behaviors. Okay, so the first one, due to his mindfulness and conscientiousness. Okay, so mindfulness in this case of precepts, mindfulness of the different ethical restraints and close bonds that the Buddha has taken, as a practitioner before awakening, and conscientiousness, having a mind that has great respect for ethical conduct. Yeah. So, due to his mindfulness and conscientiousness, the Buddha has no mistaken physical actions, whether he is walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. Okay, so his feet do not touch the ground when he walks. That's one of the qualities that it's hard for us to imitate as ordinary beings, unless you take a plane. Okay. And any insect that touches the Buddha's feet will be reborn in a pure land. So again, that's difficult for us to train exactly like that. But what we can do is there's a mantra to recite, and just in general, to make the aspiration that any living being that comes in contact with me, may they be inspired, may they their mind ripen, so that they can learn the Dharma and practice the path. Yeah. So there's one of the dedication prayers in the Tara Sadhana about this. When I can't recite it word for word, but may anybody who sees, hears, remembers, touches, or talks to me be freed from all suffering forever. So it's that kind of idea. So we can at least make that aspiration, and especially where we live here, and I think in Australia too, you have lots of insects. Yeah, lots of insects. So it's very easy, even when we don't mean to squish an insect. Yeah. And so if we have this aspiration and either make it verbally or recite the mantra, then at least we're, expressing that we don't mean to harm anybody, and that just by that connection with us, may those insects, derive benefit. And even, people that we see at the gas station, the supermarket, wherever, yeah, may they derive benefit from that. Okay, so, I hear sometimes some monks and nuns saying that when they're out in public, they feel very self-conscious in the robes, and I don't at all. And I never did, even from the beginning. I mean, now it's been so long, of course not. But even at the beginning, I didn't. And what I've realized is that, when you have the robes, not only does it help you guard your own mind from faults, but other people become interested and they come up and talk to you. Yeah. So, people will stop me and, do you know the Dalai Lama? Or, they're very innocently say, well, what are you? Yeah. And I say, I'm a Buddhist nun. And then they usually say, oh, I thought you were something spiritual. You have that kind of energy or something like that. Yeah. So it's a way of connecting with people. It's not a way of putting a block between you and other people. The block is in the mind. If people think, oh, I stick out, what are they going to think about me? And, I haven't found that to be very important. Yeah. The important thing is people notice, and sometimes they stare. They're like they saw a ghost or something. But, if there's an ability to smile at them and make eye contact, then they start to wonder, and you may even talk with them. Yeah. I was on a plane one time, and one man came up and kind of kneeled in the aisle. I had an aisle seat, and he was kneeling in the aisle, and he kind of did his life confession to me, you know? So like, I didn't know who he was, but I was able to serve some purpose for this person who obviously needed someone to talk to at that moment. Yeah. Okay. So, the Buddha acts in accordance with what he says, and his speech fulfills the needs of each sentient being in that moment. Now, we can't always fulfill the need of each sentient being in the audience in every moment, the Buddha can, but, we can't. But, when it says he acts in accordance with what he says, okay? So that means somebody who, when they say they're going to do that, they do that. They don't stop and then, they don't start and then stop in the middle, yeah, and then make some excuse why they can't finish. They don't get discouraged. They don't finish it, but kind of in a sloppy way, But it's somebody who really values their word, and because of valuing our word, keeping our word. And if we say we're going to do something, then we do it. And of course, if something happens and we can't do it, then we notify the person, who's relying on us beforehand. We don't leave them high and dry. Okay. But I think that's a good quality for us to think about. Yeah. Do we act in accordance with what we say? Or do we say one thing and do another? Yeah. Are we hypocrites? Isn't that what a hypocrite is? You say one thing and you act in a different way. So, yeah, do we honor our own word? Do we act according to how we're presenting ourselves? So that's something to check up, and that's something that we can practice on a day-to-day basis that helps us develop this quality of the Buddha. Okay, does that make some sense to you? Yeah? Yeah. So, that's why when we take the Bodhisattva vow, and one of there's different ways to take it, different verses to take it, but Shantideva always says, once we've promised to sentient beings that we want to attain awakening, for their benefit, if we decide after a while that bodhicitta is just too difficult and we want to get our own liberation and forget about all those sentient beings who are so disrespectful and so inconsiderate and so blah, then, and we give up bodhicitta, Shantideva is kind of saying, that's a huge negativity because you promised something. Yeah, and it wasn't just promising to, cook somebody breakfast. It's promising, to become a Buddha so you can lead them to awakening. It's not some little thing. But then just getting frustrated and saying, forget it, I can't stand these beings. Then, Shantideva says, be careful, that's really negative, So we can understand why, because we're going against our word to a huge audience, all sentient beings, about an important topic, attaining awakening and leading them to awakening. Okay. So when we take Bodhisattva vow, we should do it with a happy mind, with a joyful mind. Okay, we can't keep everything perfectly now, but, we have those guidelines, we have that aspiration, and we can practice and go in that direction. Okay, so that's the first of the 18. So we're still on the 6 unshared behaviors. The second one is always speaking appropriately, truthfully, and kindly. The Buddha is free from mistaken speech and chatter. The Buddha does not dispute with the world, nor does he complain or criticize what others have done. Whoa. Yeah. Can you imagine your own speech being like that? That's, always speaking appropriately. So this is, again, in this one, these are things we can practice day to day. Speaking appropriately. Yeah. Being sensitive to who you're speaking to, in what circumstance, and what you're saying. Yeah. And not just, well, I feel like saying this, so blah, or I feel like asking this, so blah. But, being sensitive to the circumstances, and really, to the person, so that you talk about something in a way that they can understand what you're saying. Yeah, so you don't use all sorts of complicated vocabulary to somebody who, you don't start out, like, hey, mom and dad, there's Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, karma, nirvana. That's just too much for people. You just start and talk about, having a kind heart. Yeah. If you're talking to somebody who's more advanced, then you can use Buddhist vocabulary. So speaking appropriately, at the right time, knowing who to say what to, and who not to say certain things to. Yeah, because if we have information, and we just like to be known as somebody who has all the information, so we go about telling this person and that person what everybody is doing, what everybody's saying, that's not really appropriate. Yeah, it's like, who needs this information? Then we need to tell them, but if people don't need it, we don't go around telling things that were said to us in confidence to people who the original speaker doesn't want to hear it. Okay. Okay, so speaking appropriately, truthfully. Yeah, so the Buddha speaks the truth. It doesn't sound that hard to speak the truth, but when we look, often when we tell stories, we exaggerate this detail or that detail, or we're telling something and we can't remember exactly what somebody said, but we speak as though we're quoting them, instead of saying somebody said something to the effect of, meaning, this is kind of the general meaning I've gotten from it. I'm not quoting them word for word. Yeah, because often, we think we're quoting somebody word for word, and we're not. And what we're saying is giving a particular slant on it, which is not what the original person would mean. Okay? And then exaggerating when we tell stories to make them sound more interesting, more dramatic, more, like I'm important because I can tell that story, and, this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so speaking truthfully, again, not being a hypocrite, not saying things that we know aren't true, and then, like saying we're going to do something and then not do it. Yeah, not lying, not backbiting. Yeah, because we look sometimes, so often, situations are like so complicated, and what's really going on is really complicated. And we may have had a discussion with somebody, and we got one feeling from it. So when we talk about that discussion, we talk about, oh, this person was really angry and upset and blah, 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 blah. But that's the part of the discussion we were focused on. Yeah, oh, they're angry and upset and they want to do this and that. But there's more to the story, because they may have also said, oh, and I'm hoping to work it out and I'm working on my mind and whatever. But we don't say that part of the story. We make somebody believe that somebody else is just upset. Yeah, are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, to speak truthfully, and third, kindly. Okay, so to speak kindly about other people. Yeah, and okay, so speaking in those three ways, he's free from mistaken speech and chatter. You know chatter? And so did this and this and that, and so's really upset about this, and this one's wondering about that, and I think we need to go back and do this all over again. And what's going to happen? And next week this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and this person's doing that, and And we spend a lot of time on our chatter. And then, of course, we chatter about something. Then other people go and tell somebody else about what we said. But of course, they exaggerate it to make it sound more interesting, And then when it gets back to the original person, they're going, oh no, what's going on here? That's not what I meant at all. Okay. But, chatter, 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 chatter. And we have a lot of internal chatter too. Yeah. And that's what a lot of our self-judgment is about. It's internal chatter. Yeah. Oh, look at what I did. I should have done that. I shouldn't have done this. And then, oh, I hope these people didn't see me, because I always make a mess and da da da. All that kind of negative self-chatter. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Buddha doesn't do that. Can you imagine, an enlightened being who chattered like that? Who said, oh, like this disciple, kind of Akshobhya. Did you hear about this disciple over here? Da, 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 Namitaba. That disciple over there. Oh, too much, Can you imagine the Buddhist doing that? That'd make a great skit, huh? Okay, so the Buddha does not dispute with the world. This phrase comes very often in terms of, Nagarjuna. He says the Buddha does not dispute with the world in the sense of meaning that conventionalities exist. Yeah, so the Buddha doesn't say, oh, well, everything is empty, so, it's not raining out. There's no such thing as rain. It's not raining outside. He doesn't dispute with the world. He accepts what is the world accepts. Okay. He doesn't dispute with the world, nor does he complain or criticize what others have done. Oh my goodness, you mean I have to give up my most favorite pastime? Yeah. Anybody else like to complain? Yeah. Oh, I can complain about anything and everything. And it's very interesting, in the morning when I wake up, all I have to do is look around, and there's something that doesn't meet my criteria. Yeah. I walked in here this morning, and on the whiteboard, it said that this talk was at 5, but I had been told it was at 6. Oh, why can't they get the time right? And then when it said place It said, to be determined. Oh, can't they decide if it's here, if I do it in my room? Why are these people so unorganized? Ah, da 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 da, this is always happening, mom. You know, it's like one small, tiny, insignificant thing. Yeah, but it doesn't meet my criteria. Okay? So, all through the day, we can look around and there's all these things that just don't meet our criteria. Yeah. Somebody cooked a delicious lunch today, but they didn't make enough so that there's leftovers. Oh, my goodness, that means all the people this evening who want to have medicine meal, all they have is quinoa. There's nothing else left. Oh, can't people learn to cook exactly the right amount for lunch? So, this happens all the time, doesn't it? Yeah? Little things. And we get so irritated. And then, our irritation makes it, we have to complain. I have to say something to someone about how wrong this is and how much I'm suffering from it. Yeah? You feed the cat in the morning and then she comes around an hour later and she wants more food. Or she sits on your lap and then you have to get up for a minute to get something and she doesn't come back and sit on your lap again after that. Doesn't she realize that you're just getting up to get a glass of tea, a cup of tea, and that she can come sit on your lap again? Oh, these cats are so independent. They're just like, whoever it is. Yeah? So about all these small things, not to mention the big things. Yeah. Oh, all these people with such wrong views who are distorting the country and destroying things and on and on and on. Okay, so the Buddha doesn't have that. Imagine how peaceful you would be if you didn't have those qualities of speech. Yeah. How peaceful your mind would be if you spoke appropriately, truthfully, kindly. Yeah, you don't complain, you don't criticize. Yeah, that comes from a very well pacified mind, which must be very nice to have, don't you think? Instead of, all these people, they are just not living their lives correctly. They should follow what I think is right, and they aren't. Okay, so this is one about speech that we can definitely practice. Okay, then the third one is the Buddha is free from any lack of mindfulness regarding the dhyanas and wisdom. Okay, so the dhyanas are the 4 form realm absorptions. So in order to attain those 4, you have to have very strong mindfulness. And that mindfulness functions to keep your attention on your object of meditation. Okay, so the Buddha is free from any lack of mindfulness regarding the dhyanas and regarding wisdom. If you're meditating on emptiness or impermanence, you need, again, mindfulness that keeps your mind on the object, and that enables you to scrutinize and examine and investigate the object. So the Buddha is free from those. So again, these are qualities that if we really practice to improve our concentration, that we will work on developing. And also part of the third one is the Buddha is he is without forgetting sentient, or I should start the sentence from the beginning, without forgetting sentient beings, he teaches them appropriately. So the Buddha doesn't forget about sentient beings. It isn't like he stays in his bliss and it's just so wonderful. And, he doesn't care about anybody else. But he teaches sentient beings appropriately, according to their interests, according to their inclination, according to their capacity, according to what they need to hear at any particular moment. So that is, an incredible ability to have, and through developing a lot of sensitivity to individuals and to the differences in individuals, instead of just, dealing with, oh, well, somebody looks like this, so they must always be like that, Okay. Then the fourth unshared quality is his mind continuously abides in meditative equipoise on emptiness and simultaneously teaches the Dharma to sentient beings. So only a Buddha can do that, can simultaneously be in meditative equipoise, directly perceiving emptiness, and function in the conventional world and see conventionalities. Okay. And then fifth is he does not perceive any discordant appearances of inherent existence and recognizes all phenomena as sharing the one taste of emptiness. So here, discordant appearances means the discordance between, perceiving emptiness and seeing things as inherently existent, because those two are totally opposite. So the Buddha does not have that problem of seeing them in that way, and he can see that dependent arising and emptiness come to the same point. They are not contradictory. So this is a really important quality, yeah. And in the three principal aspects of the path, Je Rinpoche really emphasizes that, that emptiness dawning as the meaning of dependent arising dawning as the meaning of emptiness, that after you have a direct realization of emptiness, that propels an understanding of dependent arising. When you really understand dependent arising, when you see something that's dependent arising, that naturally brings you to understand it's empty. It's empty. When we're just developing the right view, those two things, we can't put them together. Yeah. Okay. So another way, in terms of not perceiving discordant appearances, is the Buddha is not biased towards sentient beings and does not benefit those who praise him and behave well or harm those. Oh no, I'm reading the sentence wrong. This is what happens when you don't put a comma, where you put a comma where you want it, but your editor doesn't like it and removes it. Okay, so the Buddha is not biased towards sentient beings and does not benefit those who praise him and behave well in his presence. Okay, nor does he harm those who do not behave well. Okay, there must be another way to word that sentence so it's a little bit clearer. Okay, but the point is that the Buddha has equanimity for all sentient beings. So he doesn't play favorites. It's like, oh, this person makes so many offerings, I'm going to give him more teachings than that person who makes a lot of offerings, but they're all really cheap stuff that they want to get rid of, Or this person spends hours singing praises of me in their morning meditation, and that person, meditates on the Lam Rim, but they don't sing the praises. So, the Buddha doesn't have these kind of things of discriminating who he's going to help, who he's not going to help, who he's going to, playing favorites, basically. Yeah. And I think that, because our mind is so involved in playing favorites, and I like and I don't like, I don't like, we often project that onto other people. And so there's somebody that we respect, but oh, look, they pay more attention to so and so, and they don't pay enough attention to me. Their bias. Okay. Because, and you can see, like with His Holiness Dalai Lama, sometimes people want that attention from His Holiness, so they try and do stuff so that His Holiness will know who they are. And when he's walking to the Dharma seat, he'll stop, and shake hands with them or whatever. And in His Holiness's mind, there's room for every sentient being. If he doesn't stop and say hello to you, it's not because he doesn't care. And if he does stop and say hello to you, it doesn't mean because you're special. Yeah? But it's important for us to remember that. Otherwise, we create the story of, they pay so much attention to so-and-so and I'm left out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody play that video? Yeah. Okay, so Buddha doesn't have that bias. Then 6, he abides in perfect equanimity, free from indifference, knowing the individual characteristics of each phenomena, as well as when sentient beings' minds are ready to be ripened. Okay, so what's interesting here, he has abides in perfect equanimity, free from indifference. So on Thursday, I was talking about developing equanimity between friend, enemy, and stranger, and how our usual apathetic idea or apathetic feeling towards strangers, getting and attachment for friends, aversion for enemies, that when we get rid of those 3 biased minds, it doesn't mean that we are indifferent and don't care about any of them. Okay. And, I talked about how sometimes when you talk about being free of attachment, some people think, oh, well then, oh, my life is so boring. I just sit there. I'm not attached to anything. So I'm just like a bump on the log and I sit there. I'm indifferent. And no, that indifference is not a quality of the Buddha. Okay. Buddha is not indifferent. He sees everything as it is. Okay. And so he sees individual characteristics. In terms of sentient beings, he cares about all of them. Yeah. And in that way, because of his great sensitivity to where sentient beings are at, he, he knows when their minds are ripe and when he can say or do a certain thing that will make something click. Okay. So we've all had that experience, haven't we? We're just kind of going along, and then in the middle of some teaching, whammo, it's like, oh, I've heard that teaching 10,000 times, and wow, now I understand something, So it's kind of like if the Buddha were teaching us, he knows that when we're ripe and that comes, okay? Okay, So those are the 6 unshared behaviors, the first 6. Then we have the 6 unshared realizations. Okay, these are the next 6. Okay, so number 7 is with all encompassing love and compassion. A Buddha never experiences any decline of his aspiration and intention to benefit all sentient beings or to increase their virtuous qualities. Okay, so the Buddha has this all-encompassing love and compassion for each and every sentient being, and it never, it remains steady. It isn't, up and down and up and down. Oh, I feel I'm in a good mood today, so I have lots of love and compassion. And oh, I'm exhausted today, so I don't have much. Buddha isn't like that. Yeah. And so there's never any decline in his aspiration and his intention to benefit sentient beings and to help them increase their good qualities. So so this is something we can kind of try to develop, because our aspiration and intention to be of benefit isn't always constant, and like I said, sometimes you're energetic, you're fine, 10 people come and they want to talk to you, and you're okay, and then you just get exhausted and it's like, leave me alone. Yeah, wake up. Okay, so it remains constant. So this is a quality to really try and develop, in a day-to-day way, so that, or put it this way, when you live with people and you know them well, do you always know who you're going to meet on, who they're going to be on the next time you see them? No. Because one time you see them, they are in a good mood and they want to help and they want to do this and that. And then the next time you see them, they're in a bad mood and they don't even want to say hello. And then the next time they're in a hurry. And then the next time, they have time and they want to listen. And we never know who we're going to meet. And similarly, when people meet us anytime during any day or any lifetime, they don't know who we're going to be. They think they know us really well, but, we change a lot and we're quite fickle and we're moody. But the Buddha, has this constant aspiration and intention, no matter what's going on. Yeah, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have that kind of constancy? First of all, to have an aspiration and intention to benefit sentient being. Wouldn't it be nice to have that? And then second, to have it constantly, to not have it be like this. Yeah. Because our aspirations sometimes it's like, oh, I just did this and now I'm so tired, and what do people want from me anyway? We're quite characters, aren't we? Yeah. Okay, then 7, the Buddha's joyous effort to lead others to awakening never diminishes. Okay, so a Buddha experiences no physical, verbal, or mental fatigue and continuously cares for the welfare of sentient beings without laziness or despondency. So this is something too we can practice, going towards. Having the joyous effort that doesn't experience physical, verbal, or mental fatigue. Now, how do we avoid that? Yeah. Well, at our level, we do have human bodies and they get tired and they need rest. But what we can do is learn how to pace ourselves and listen to our body so we don't go full stream ahead and then collapse. Okay? But know how to do things gradually, how to take a break, how to rest, then come back and continue. Yeah. So that's at least how we can go in that direction of having some, not being overcome by physical fatigue, and it's really learning how to pace ourselves. Verbal fatigue, yeah. I look at His Holiness. Now he's older, it's more difficult, but in previous years, he would teach in the morning, from 8 until 11. We'd have a break until 1 o'clock, and then he'd teach again until like 3:34. And in his break times and before the teachings and after the teachings, he had private interviews with people. So he was going all day and he was speaking all day. Yeah, when he gave a teaching, he would talk straight for 3 hours. I don't have that capacity. At some point, you're talking and it's just like, you're just sitting there, but it takes a lot of energy to talk for a long time. Yeah. And I look back now at university professors who, teach all day. And it's like, how did they do it? Because I know for myself, your voice gets strained. And but Buddha doesn't have that problem. Okay. And mental fatigue. Similarly, it's like, I'm just tired of thinking, can't I zone out for a while on something? I need to take a walk in the forest and just, kind of let my mind rest. So, again, seeing these things and then trying to nudge ourselves without pushing ourselves, but just, learn to pace ourselves physically, learn also verbally how to pace ourselves. When we need to be quiet, when we need to talk, how loud we talk. Yeah, I took drama in high school, so I was taught that you talk to the back row of the audience. So when I am talking, most of you are close to me and I have a microphone, but in my mind, I've got to talk loud enough so that I reach the back of the room and then I exhaust my voice. Yeah, not too smart. So, yeah, so learning to how to adjust, and how to take breaks, and then the mental fatigue too. Yeah, we can't just keep going, but again, learning how to pace ourselves so that when it's important for us to be mentally present, we can be, and then also nudge ourselves a little bit because, again, I know for myself, sometimes I might feel just really tired mentally or verbally or physically, but there's a teaching scheduled and I don't have a choice. I have to go and teach. So what's interesting is after teaching, I always feel uplifted. I'll go in and it's like, how am I going to get through this? I'm so tired. And then at the end, I feel good. But then when I get back to my room, it's like, okay, now I need a break. Okay. So, yeah. So sometimes when you think, oh, I just can't do it, I'm too exhausted, just encourage yourself a little bit. Yeah. And and one way to do that is to think, oh, I have a precious human life. I have the ability to be of benefit to somebody right now, or I have the ability to remember this teaching and practice it a little bit. So developing the ability to encourage ourselves and not just say, oh, I'm exhausted. Yeah. We just got done with, a review session, and I need to read a comic book and let my mind rest. But instead, we're talking about the 18 qualities of the Buddha. Just, well, I have a precious human life, and I have this kind of good karma, so I'm gonna try my best. Okay, then 9, a Buddha's mindfulness is effortless and uninterrupted. So in whatever he's doing, there's joyous effort and mindfulness, and it just goes on uninterrupted. So he is mindful of the situations of that each sentient being encounters in the past, present, and future, and he's mindful of the methods to subdue their minds. Yeah, so wow, imagine having that quality. So how do we develop it? Again, I think just trying to pay attention to sentient beings instead of, when it says that the Buddha is mindful of the situations that each sentient being encounters in the past, present, and future. I think of Buddhas as they're paying attention to what's happening now. They're not saying, oh, I know that sentient being from before. I know what kind of person they are, putting them in a category and then always relating to them in that way. Okay, we do that, don't we? Yeah, we meet somebody, we form a certain opinion, and we expect that that's how they always are. We don't have a fresh mind. We come in with our preconceptions, project them on the people and the situation without questioning. So I think when they talk about Zen mind, beginner's mind, I think what they're talking about is that ability to not have so many preconceptions about people, situations, and so on. Instead of having the mind of like, oh, I know so and so, I know that person, every time they see me, they ask me to do something. So I am going to avoid them because I'm tired of them asking me to do something. Yeah. So look at all the preconceptions of that. This person, that's what they always do. They don't, that's who they are. They don't have any variety of behavior. Their only behavior when I see them is to ask me to do something. Second preconception, whatever they ask me to do is going to be something I don't want to do. Yeah, whatever they ask me, I'm gonna, I'm all set up. I feel like they're bossing me around and they're not listening to me, and I'm all ready to just walk away and, oh, here they are, they're going to ask me to do something. I know I'm not going to want to do it, so I'm just going to say no and walk away. Now, I have the whole situation planned out. We do that, don't we? Yeah. Oh, I know this person. I know what the situation can be like. Yeah. It's kind of like once you know who's cooking lunch, we know what we're going to have for lunch. Yeah. And it's like, I know this person always cooks. We'll see if you can guess who it is. Mashed potatoes, Brussels sprouts, canned corn. Huh? It's frozen? Oh, I thought it was canned. Or frozen peas. Yeah. And mushrooms, yes, yes. And sometimes carrot cakes. Yeah. So we know, yeah. So, okay, we know, and their day, cooking day is Tuesday, so we know on Tuesday, this is what we're going to have. And we go into lunch all prepared. We have checked out the snack table in advance, so we know what we're going to go get at the snack table, you know. Yeah. And then, one day we walk, and I remember the first day that person made enchiladas. I was like, what? What? How can you? I'm expecting mashed potatoes and Brussels. What are these? And the enchiladas were delicious. Yeah, really good. But I was like, because I thought I knew exactly what they were going to cook. Yeah. And so this is how we form opinions, and we don't approach situations in a fresh manner. Even like, I know what's going to be for lunch today, and then shock when it isn't that. Okay, and I know when there's patties, I know who's cooked lunch then. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You know who cooks patties all the time? Huh? Yeah, but there's one person who really specializes in them. Yeah. What else? Oh, when there's bihun, yeah, we know who cooked the thin noodles. Yeah, we know who cooked lunch. Okay, so yeah, it's like, okay, now I know. Yeah, complete stereotype. When there's vinegar, yeah, I know who cooked lunch. But you're the one? Oh, so there's two people who put vinegar on otherwise delicious food and ruin it by putting vinegar on. Oh, there's two of you. Okay. Oh, no, it tastes very well. Yeah. Yeah. But some people love vinegar, and sometimes it's pieces of orange plus vinegar. And I keep thinking, when there's that, because we think of whenever in the Lama Chopa, we offer food with 100 flavors. And I always wonder, how do you get 100 flavors? Well, orange and vinegar, I guess, is one of those. It's not one I thought of, but okay. Yeah. So we have all our little things for we know what somebody's going to cook. Okay, then 10. Free from all obscurations, the Buddha continuously remains in samadhi with pure and stainless wisdom focused on the ultimate reality of emptiness. Yeah, so the Buddha not only knows the ultimate mode of existence of phenomena, but he can focus on it effortlessly with samadhi, free of any kind of obscurations. Yeah, that is quite wonderful. How do we get there? We practice concentration, we practice renunciation, we practice contemplating impermanence and emptiness and dependent arising. Okay, 11. The Buddha's wisdom knows that his state of awakening, which is free from both afflictive and cognitive obscurations, cannot degenerate. He lacks any dualistic appearance or grasping at duality, and knows the clear light nature of the mind. Okay, so his wisdom knows that his state of awakening, which is free from both afflictive and cognitive obscurations, cannot degenerate. So the afflictive obscurations are the afflictions and karma, yeah, and the karmic seeds that keep us going in samsara. No, actually, it's not. I don't think the karma isn't included in the afflictive obscurations. It's included in true causes, but not in the afflictive. So the afflictive obscurations, the afflictions, plus and their seeds. Okay, and of the afflictions, the main one is the ignorance. So, and then the cognitive obscurations are the latencies of the afflictions and the subtle dualistic view that they produce. And those are eliminated at Buddhahood. Yeah, the afflictive obscurations are eliminated in order to attain liberation. Okay, so the Buddha has those freedoms from those two sets of obscurations, and he knows that that cannot degenerate. In other words, once you have eliminated those defilements, you are free forever. There's no causes or conditions that can make them appear in the mind again. Okay. And the Buddha is aware that he has that realization. Yeah, so he knows where he is on the path. Yeah, that's very different than us. We have all the obscurations, and we have one good meditation session, and then we think, oh, I've generated bodhicitta, and well, no, not exactly. Okay, we've had a similitude of bodhicitta. We need a lot more practice, and so on. Okay, the Buddha lacks any dualistic appearance, so things appearing inherently to them, and he never grasps at inherent existence. And he knows the clear light nature of the mind, the empty nature of the mind. And then 12, with total freedom, his inexhaustible wisdom perfectly knows all existence, the 84,000 Dharma teachings, and the doctrines of the three vehicles, as well as how and when to express them to sentient beings. Whoa! Okay, so because of the Buddha's freedom from obscurations, he has the omniscient mind, so he has the wisdom that knows every single thing that exists. Yeah, plus the 84,000 Dharma teachings. Those are the antidotes to the 84,000 afflictions. Okay, he knows the doctrines of the three vehicles. Three vehicles are the Shravaka or hearer vehicle, Pratyeka Buddha or solitary realizer vehicle, and then the Mahayana or Bodhisattva vehicle. So he knows all of those, and he knows when and in what way to express those to sentient beings. Yeah, so he knows how, because you have to speak differently according to the audience. And you have to know the audience somewhat. And, some people you teach a lot, so you kind of know where they're at. But other times, you just walk in cold. You have no idea of the level of the audience. Yeah. You don't know any of the people. And the Buddha just kind of knows exactly what to say and when to say it and how to lead them, Otherwise, sometimes it's yeah, and how you talk to each audience is really, really different. So to have some kind of sensitivity and subtle awareness of how to do that. Okay, so now we're on the 3 unshared awakened activities. Okay, so this is there's 3 of them. So this is number 13 of the 18. So, imbued with wisdom, the Buddha's bodily actions are always done to benefit others. So he emanates diverse bodies that appear wherever sentient beings have the karma to be led on the path to awakening. Okay? And whatever physical actions the Buddha does, standing, lying, sitting, or walking, automatically has positive effects on the sentient beings and subdues their mind. Okay, so Buddha's bodily actions, physical actions, are always done to benefit others. Do we think about that before every time we move? No. What do I think about before I move? I want to get there and get that and do that. Not, am I benefiting others? Am I walking with mindfulness? Is my mind free of complaint when I'm doing this? Okay, so again, this is something to be more aware of when we move our body, how it affects other people. And if, we have some kind of benefit in mind to them, or if we don't have a mind to benefit them, at least a mind of courtesy. Yeah, at least a mind that doesn't rush past somebody to get what we want, or bump somebody else because we're going too quickly, or slam the door, or whatever, or tromp, on the stairs. Okay, and yeah, so all the physical actions the Buddha does, whatever you always hear standing, lying, sitting, walking. Those are called the 4 positions. And when we are encouraged to be mindful of our actions and to, guard our senses, it's always done in the context of these 4 positions. Okay, so it's not like, okay, when you lie down, I don't have to be mindful at all. I just go plop and everybody else has to deal with it. No, to have awareness and gracefulness, and what I mean by gracefulness is not just physical gracefulness, but a mind of care and concern, a mind that gracefully can flow with situations. Okay, and 14, knowing the dispositions and interests of each sentient being, he teaches the Dharma in a manner appropriate for that person. So his speech flows smoothly, is accurate, and lovely to hear. It does not deceive or lead others astray, but is clear, wise, and kind. Yeah. So again, a mindfulness of our speech. Yeah, our speech is smooth, it's accurate, and it's lovely to hear. It's not, you know, you know. Yeah, it's, we try and make our talk something, nice for people to hear. We're not screeching, yeah? And similarly when we chant, yeah? Oh, now I get to go on my so on my soapbox. Yeah. We have to chant mindfully. We don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. Okay. We don't have to screech when we chant. Namo Amitabha. You know, and if you know that you can't carry a tune, I mean, not everybody has the ability. Some people, what do they say, tone deaf? You can't carry a tune or you can't get the right pitch. Then just, okay, I know that about myself. So when I chant, I don't chant loudly and, mess it up for everybody else. Yeah, because when you when you try and chant and you're standing next to somebody who's off pitch, yeah, then it's really hard, isn't it? So if you're off pitch, it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean anything derogatively. It just means, chant with your heart, but don't do it so loudly. Yeah? Of course, those people aren't here right now. Okay. Yeah. And the Buddha's speech does not deceive or lead others astray, but is clear, wise, and kind. Okay? So his speech doesn't deceive and lead others astray. Sometimes we get just a little bit arrogant, And I'm not talking about a lot of arrogance. A little bit is enough poison. Okay, you don't need a lot to poison other people, just a little bit. And you explain something to them that you don't know what you're talking about. And especially in the Dharma, if you do that, yeah, then people get the wrong idea. And especially sometimes we think, oh, the new people, you can say whatever because they don't really know what you're talking about. But if new people to the Dharma, they remember often the first things they're told. And if we are not knowledgeable and we tell them something incorrect, or we tell them something that is not beneficial, yeah, then they remember that, and that is really detrimental for them. And it takes them a while to kind of go, oh, I have to change my idea. So to be responsible, when we're answering questions, especially Dharma questions, or when we're giving instructions to new people, it's very important. And in all areas of our life, somebody stops to ask you directions, give them accurate directions. Yeah. For those of you who've been to India, you know that if you ask somebody how to get somewhere, they may not know, but they're going to give you directions anyway, and you'll follow them and you wind up somewhere else. Yeah. Because it's just, I don't know why it's done. Maybe it's, well, they're a visitor, you've got to say something. It would be rude not to. So, I don't know. But yeah, to give people good directions and, make sure they understand, or give people good instructions on how to do something. Okay, and then filled with undeclining love and compassion, his mind encompasses all beings with the intention to do only what is of the highest benefit. He effortlessly and continuously cognizes all phenomena. So again, these are qualities unique to the Buddha. Yeah. So we do our best to do what we can to go in those directions. But, when you really think, one way to meditate on these qualities is to just think, what would it be like to have them? And then, just imagine that. Of course, what we imagine isn't going to be anything like what it is, but it gives us some idea of the incredible abilities of a Buddha. Yeah. Okay, so there's only 3 more. I'm going to go quickly through those, so at least we've completed them. Okay, so without obscuration or error, the Buddha's wisdom simultaneously knows everything in the past, present, and future. Okay, now, here, his knowledge of the future does not mean that things are predetermined. Repeat. The Buddha's knowledge of the future does not mean that things are predetermined. Okay, so his knowledge of the future, means that the Buddha knows that if a person does a particular action, a particular result will follow. And if another course of action is taken, a different result will follow. So the Buddha doesn't know exactly what everybody's going to do as if it were predetermined, but he just knows if somebody does this, this is the kind of evolution it's going to lead to. And if somebody does this, it's going to lead to a different result. Okay? But we have free will and can choose what we want to do. So we have responsibility for our choices. Okay? So that's all 18, because the past, present, and future are 3.